Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this week's episode of Roundabout Sports, presented by Interstate 70 Sports Media and by Harsh Construction LLC, with over 50 years combined experience in the field of landscaping, renovation, and home repairs. Be sure to call for a free quote today for Harsh Construction LLC. And for that, you would call, let me get that number up there for you folks, 618-363-9818. That is 618-363-9818. So this is episode 150 about sports. I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Carb. It is a windy and cold Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Just a couple weeks away from till Christmas. And this is a special episode. Now my co-host, AB, he'll be on later. I also got a great guest, a dear friend, backstage, because this Saturday night, John Cena will be wrestling his final match ever. He has made it clear multiple times this is the last match of his career. And so AB came up with the idea last week, which makes it all the more ironic, that we do a little bit of a tribute show, share some of our fondest memories of John Cena's long career, because, you know, he debuted in 2002 on the main roster in WWE. So given that's 2025, a lot has happened. You know, record-setting 17-time world champion, a Grand Slam champion finally, now that he's won the Intercontinental title a few weeks ago. And it goes without saying how many wrestlers have been inspired, either fully or in part, because of him. So, with all that said, there is a couple interesting stories that I know of when it comes to John Cena. So, now I've been watching wrestling probably since about 2004, 2005. 2005 was when it started to be more consistent for me, and that was especially because thanks to a lot of my close friends. We all are huge wrestling fans, so of course that was always a wonderful, thing for us to watch together. With all that said, what ends up happening is, with John Cena, I remember at New Year's of Revolution in 2006 when Edge cashed in the first time somebody cashed in the Money in the Bank contract. I remember John Cena getting booed out of Chicago at WrestleMania 22. And then, oh gosh, even ECW One Night Stand. Now, a lot of the media pundits and analysts out there have put together a list of what they believe is John Cena's greatest matches of all time. Some of them I agree with. Some, I think the list could be better. But that we're going to save for a little bit later on in the show. For now, I'm going to actually start by doing our little spiel before I introduce our guest. Roundabout Sports can be found on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, any and all other places where you can stream podcasts. You can find Roundabout Sports on there. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and the Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel. Just go to any of those places, find Interstate 70 Sports Media, hit that subscribe button, because Roundabout Sports is not the only great show that we have as a part of this family. We got the Blues Fan Forum podcast back, starting up in 2026. Issues with Wrestling is going to be back. Down podcast. We got Cardinals on My Time with Scott Plaza. We got a lot of great shows. And of course, AB, the host of the Elite Sports Show and the College Hoop Show as well. So with all of that, it's time for me to bring on, this is kind of funny because I'm having deja vu. I've been podcasting since, probably 2013. But I remember it was in 2014. I was actually doing a show called, what goes without saying, the Jeremy Carp Show. And I would record it in the Central West End in downtown St. Louis. But I also would record it. Eventually, the studio got moved to the back of a postal office in Lake St. Louis. And I had a guest on who was a world champion at an independent wrestling promotion in the St. Louis area at that time. And I had seen him wrestle many times up to that point at indie shows, but this was the first time I got to actually interview a professional wrestler. And all these years later, we are the closest of friends. And I get to call his matches at Pro Wrestling Epic all the time, and I'm always grateful for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce to Roundabout Sports, the one and only California Dreamin' himself, Sweet Cheeks, Brandon Aarons.
That was really good. I like that.
I had to. I had to put that one in there.
That's good.
How's it going, Brandon?
Dude, I'm doing good. I'm getting sushi later, so I'm super looking forward to that right now.
Oh my gosh, that sounds good. So
besides talking to you.
I feel so loved. So the first thing I got to ask you, before we get into talking a little bit about John Cena and everything, because I know you have some interesting stories, especially. Last week, you did something that I never thought I would see or call in a wrestling match. You literally jumped off the top of a steel cage in Pontoon Beach, Illinois, in a match against Tyler Copeland, which you did win that match, but the image is still ingrained in my mind, and we're going to have it up on the Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel soon. But my question to you is simply, how are you feeling after all that?
Well, it's a good thing you said that I won the match, because imagine if I did all that and then I didn't win the match. That would be really bad.
Right.
But dude, I'm feeling okay. A lot of people don't realize like that steel cage, it's so hard, that is real steel. So I got bruises all over my body. Jumping from the top of the cage, my legs, my arms, everything hits that table going pretty much as fast as you can think, because I don't have anything to protect me. So, but if I feel this bad, just imagine how Tyler Copeland feels knowing that I landed in my full force on him. So,
well, we also do have a comment sent in by the referee from that match asking why he got kicked in the face by you. So
he should have been out of the way.
Honestly, Tyler Copeland kind of put him in your path.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
That's from my angle, I saw Tyler kind of pushing him in the path.
I agree with you. You know what? Let's roll with that. That sounds a lot better. I haven't seen the footage yet, so I don't know what happened, but my foot did meet Eric Allen's face in the ring. So
yeah. Eric Allen, who was a special guest referee for that matchup, and probably regretted it with the amount of times he either got pushed and kicked and everything in that match. I got to ask, you talked to me a bit about this after the show. I mean, going up there to even, it was a very cold night in Pontoon Beach. Show was going on 3 hours. And don't get me wrong, we love
3.5 hours, but yeah.
3.5 hour show. We love pro wrestling. We love what we do. But you wanted the crowd to remember something when they went home that night.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm kind of glad you brought that up, actually, because when I was a kid, and anyone that listens to previous interviews or whatever, or have followed me knows that, I didn't just get into wrestling randomly when I was 20 or had a midlife crisis where I wanted to be a part of the business. I pretty much grew up in this. So when I was 12, Yeah, I was 12 when I went to my first independent wrestling show. And like going to those shows, the takeaway from those shows for me as a kid is there would be something on every show that would make me just like, it's all I could think about. I would see something crazy, a guy going through a table, doing like a big fall outside the ring, a big dive, something. There would be something that I could pinpoint to myself, like that I would be thinking about forever. You know what I mean? To this day, there are moments that I remember. One of my favorite callbacks is when I was probably like, I had to have been like 13 or 14 years old. My trainer Dingo wrestled an older wrestler here out of St. Louis called Pete Madden, who is kind of like an independent wrestling legend in this area for hardcore wrestling. And yes, exactly. And Dingo put Pete Madden in a shopping cart, a real shopping cart, and did a moonsault off the top rope on the Pete Madden while he was in the shopping cart. And I thought that was the craziest thing I ever saw in my life. I'm 35, Jeremy Carp, and I can visually remember that moment. So, but I also remember, shows that I went to where I was like, why am I here? Like this isn't very good. Luckily, those shows didn't happen often. But when it comes to Pro Wrestling Epic, I feel like Pro Wrestling Epic, we represent the heart and soul of not just St. Louis independent wrestling, but what independent wrestling really is. It's raw, it's authentic, it's different. You don't know what you're going to get out of these shows, but that we're going to deliver, and that you're going to go home after every show and you're going to be like, what did I just see? That was crazy. That was awesome. And being in a position of, being in the main event, being in such a high profile match for us, that we've had this feud with Tyler Copeland, I have, for the past year, really for almost like the past 10 years, if you followed us. And this is it. This was the last time we were going to wrestle each other, high stakes, steel cage, main event. We had a great draw, great turnout for the show.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to do something to where when people go to work on Monday, when the kids that came out, when they go to school on Monday, and someone asks them, hey, what'd you do this weekend? They can say, like, you're not going to believe this, but like, I watched this dude jump off the top of a steel cage and put this other guy through a table. And the funny thing about that is I didn't get a chance to see the cage before the match. I didn't get a chance to climb it. I didn't get a chance to see if I even had room to put my feet up on the top. I don't know if that table is going to break. I don't know if I'm actually going to kill Tyler. I don't know what's going to happen. That's all there.
Nobody does. That's what makes it even greater.
And that's the beauty of it, because it's so just, you just don't know what's going to happen. But I did know that I wanted to do something to where people would want to come back and see what we're going to do next. How are we going to top this? Because there's so many great wrestlers on this roster that that are on every show that, someone's going to probably top it. The next show is going to be even crazier. Something crazy is going to happen. So I want to create that environment, and I want to continue to push that environment for everybody. So yeah, it was a moment for me personally that I really am glad that happened. But I really hope everyone that came out had a good time, and that they also, remember that for a very long time.
You talk about definitive moments that are like ingrained in your mind for professional wrestling. I've learned as I've gotten older and I've watched more and more wrestling that I think the first definitive big show that I watched was WrestleMania 22 in Chicago. Obviously not in person, but just that I ended up watching with my friends and everything. And I remember, you talk about the big spot. There were two big spots from that show that are ingrained in my mind forever. The first spot is Ric Flair getting superplexed in the Money in the Bank ladder match.
That's a good one. Yeah, I remember that.
Off the top of the ladder. That was the first one. And him limping, like in so much pain, and then limping back out later to try to win the match.
Yeah.
Then later in the show was the hardcore match between Edge and Mick Foley.
Dude, classic.
And Mick Foley, to me, what's funny is, and anybody that's ever met him or even has listened to him can vouch for this. As like crazy and hardcore and demonic as he is in the ring, he is literally the nicest guy ever. Like, meeting him was a dream. When I got to meet him at the Galleria during one of his stand-up shows, dream come true for me. Like, I was like, big thing off the bucket list right there. But that spot where Edge spears him through the flaming table outside the ring, like, I mean, that's like the first true hardcore moment that was entrenched in my brain as, this elementary school kid, almost going into middle school. And my best friend Evan and I, every week, we'd watch Raw, talked about it the next day. We'd watch even WWE, ECW, we talked about it the next day, Impact and SmackDown, we talked about them next. Like, it was, and our friends and I, we'd all get together, watch wrestling. Like, it just became the standard to where we still get together for the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania specifically all these years later. Now, as far as John Cena goes, it was his feud with ECW that, John Cena was getting booed a lot in 2006. Yes, they were pushing him as the top babyface, but he was facing some hostile crowds. Chicago's always been brutal to him, and the ECW crowd was not having it. I mean, at all.
Yeah. I watched that live. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah. So you said, so those were some of the first memories, was like seeing this guy, and John Cena, of course, starring in the Marine. So he's trying to have this soldier,
You watched that movie?
They promoted the hell out of it. So
it was fine.
Yeah. That was, it's funny. That was the only one I ever watched. That I did not watch any of the sequels.
Yeah.
I'm amazed I even sat through. Let's face it, Robert Patrick saved the movie. But anyway, so my thing with John Cena was, that was the first time I really saw him as. I didn't grow up watching the Doctor of Thugonomics. I grew up watching the soldier that went into.
You missed that era? That's unfortunate for you.
I barely missed. No, a lot of my friends were watching that, but I technically did miss on that part because I came in 05, 06, and by then he was already past that.
Yeah, for sure.
So you have a funny story to share of John Cena, you said. So I'm really curious to hear this.
So first of all, I don't want to interrupt you, but
you're fine.
You brought up the ECW One Night Stand, and with Cena getting food out of the building, and people he's throwing a shirt to the crowd, and they're like sneezing in it, whatever.
Yeah,
and it's hilarious, iconic moment. But the first ECW One Night Stand. So just to go back just slightly, what we were talking about moments. So did you ever see the first one that they did? Okay.
Yeah. So the one that was actually like a reunion event.
Exactly. So this is funny. So the main event was like the Dudley Boys, and then the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer did like a big street fight.
Yeah.
So have you ever went to a wrestling show and then you go home and then you were like trying to recreate whatever you just saw?
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
So we were talking about memorable moments before, and from that show, Sandman uses a cheese grater on it. Is it? Oh wait, maybe it's the no. I think it was Bubba Ray Dudley used a cheese grater on Tommy Dreamer's forehead.
Yeah, I think it was Bubba who was using a cheese grater on Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah, so me and my brother are watching that, and I'm probably like 14, 15 years old. So he's like he's like 3 or 4 years older than me, and I was like, oh my God, that looks so cool. So we got like a tomato slicer out of my parents' drawer. My parents knew this was going on. And I was like, put it on my forehead. And then like, it was a bad idea. Anyway, super funny. But anyway, you brought up ECW One Night Stand, and that is exactly what I think about.
That both of them were fun.
So Not that anyone should do that, bad idea. But anyway, but back to John Cena. So I grew up watching him like debut as the doctor of thugonomics. You know, he comes out with like his little word life stuff. Hilarious, awesome. Probably some of the best promos, just nonstop every week. Just classic promos, hilarious stuff. But my brother had bought a Houston Astros oversized jersey. And if you go on Google and you look at old pictures of John Cena, like that's kind of was his thing. He'd come out in these like oversized jerseys from the different cities they'd go to. And so my brother ended up like moving away. This might have been, let's see, I think he went to college, around this time. And but he left that jersey, like he had a Houston Astros oversized jersey because of John Cena. And then I wore it to school a couple times because I thought like it was so cool. And then like, I don't even know if he knows this. He might not even know this. But anyway, I got made fun of so bad for wearing that. Like, because I also like buzzed my head at the time. So I'm walking into school like just in this massive oversized Houston Astros jersey because of John Cena. So that is my contribution to the fandom of John Cena when he was the doctor of thugonomics. So
there you go. You know, I will say the first time as a kid growing up, you know what? The only time I really got to see John Cena as the Doctor of Thugonomics was the OG Day of Reckoning on the GameCube. Because in that first one was when he was the Doctor of Thugonomics. Yeah, now we got Jared that's messaging in, sending his comment, says, my love for Cena revived during Team Cena versus Team Authority, which for those that don't know was like 2014. Prior it faded, but that storyline revived it. And that was one hell of a storyline, honestly.
Okay. That was solid.
You know, I wanted to put this out here. So Bleacher Report came out with their top 10 John Cena matches. So
I saw that earlier. I saw someone share that. Yeah.
And when AB gets on later, I know I'm gonna probably talk with him about it. We have one from our very own, the lovely, fabulous Babs herself. She says, John Cena remembering my friend for her tattoo on her arm that we drove 10 hours to show him. LOL. Jared says, Cena versus Taker should be number one. Oh, good Lord. Okay. Yeah.
Well, hold on. What did they, was that WrestleMania match the first match they ever had against each other?
I feel
because if that's what he's referring to, that's really funny because
that's what I'm pretty sure he's referring to.
It's like 3 minutes long.
All right. So for those that don't know, this is Bleacher Report's top 10 John Cena matches in his career. Number 10 is Cena versus Edge at Unforgiven 2006, the TLC match in
that's
Toronto.
When he dumps him off the top of the ladder, right through a stack of tables or something.
Well, actually, I think it was 3 tables, but still, I mean, it was cool. Unbelievable. Number 9, John Cena versus The Rock at WrestleMania 28. One of my favorite WrestleManias. Without a doubt. I thought it was a great WrestleMania, and that was a great main event capped off by an intriguing moment having The Rock win. I mean, we knew he wasn't a full-timer, but just having that happen.
It's an iconic match, you know, for sure.
Absolutely. This one I don't know about, and you give me your thoughts, Brandon. Number 8, they have Cena versus Cody Rhodes, SummerSlam of 2025. I
actually didn't watch it. But I think for this era, you know, if you like for this era, I think like why not throw a match in with the guy that's you know is at the top of the business right now? Because, you know, to fans that got on late on the Cena train, they might not know his older stuff. So, you know, they might look at a match like that and be like, that's the best match he's ever had. Where like you and me watch like him and Punk from years ago, or like, you know, I don't know if you were around for his feud with JBL. That was like my feud. That like people don't really talk about it as much because it's just not relevant. So I think that's fair to put that on there.
So here comes number 7. Now this one to me I could make, and our friend Eddie Jameson tuning in. Eddie, folks, is a long-time listener. Thank you so much for tuning in, Eddie. We are counting down John Cena's top 10 matches as written by Bleacher Report. Now, number 7 is one that I could consider John Cena's greatest match, and it very well might be my favorite John Cena match. John Cena versus Shawn Michaels on the April 23rd episode in 2007 of Monday Night Raw. It was a non-title match, and it was a rematch from WrestleMania. And it was a near hour-long match. And this was when John Cena, or when Monday Night Raw was 2 hours. So imagine having half of a show dedicated to one match on just broadcast television. And,
well, they do that now. They just don't do it in WWE anymore.
Right. And Cena lost that match too. Shawn Michaels hit him with Sweet Chin Music and stayed in the hunt for the WWE Championship.
Yeah,
but
well, they had a match at Mania also. Him and Cena did.
Yep.
And that was really good too. Yeah, I mean
that was
those
a good
were
one as well. That was just a really
both
good
of them were really yeah for sure.
Next we have John Cena versus AJ Styles, SummerSlam 2016.
Yeah.
So that was a very good one. And I know a lot of people are going to talk about the Royal Rumble John Cena versus AJ Styles match. And maybe it's on the list, maybe it's not. But one thing's to be said, AJ Styles, especially in John Cena's later part of his career, AJ Styles brought out some of the best that we saw of John Cena. And, you know, I think for fans like myself who had watched Impact Wrestling, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling and everything, and WWE at the same time back then, seeing guys like AJ Styles and John Cena finally fighting in the ring together was one of those dream matches.
You know what's cool about that? Because no one talks about this. So when I was a kid, my brother bought like some random ass DVD. Sorry, I didn't mean to cuss, but random DVD, and it was like the company was like UWF or something. I might have that wrong, but it was like based in SoCal, and Cena and Samoa Joe actually like came up there like when they were on the Indies, you know. But this is like before OVW, so it's funny to me how Styles has these like this whole catalog of these amazing matches, and some of the best are with Cena and Joe, and they actually like started together. So I thought
that is actually really crazy to think about.
Yeah.
Number 5. So this is an interesting one for me. Because John Cena, of course, being the goody two shoes good guy in 2007, you needed a really monstrous bad guy to go toe to toe with him. In comes Umaga. So at number 5, they have John Cena versus Umaga in the 2007 Royal Rumble. And what's interesting is this was not just any ordinary match. This was a last man standing match.
Oh, yeah.
And the image to me of a bloody John Cena screaming as he choked out Umaga, which was unbelievable for me. Once again, another endearing image of that ruthless aggression, John Cena, the guy that would do whatever it takes to win the match, like not necessarily in a dirty heelish way, but just in the way of never giving up. We move on now on our list.
I appreciate that they put that match on there because I think again it happened so long ago that people probably forget. And I think you know, there's so many great storylines and matches that happen in the back catalog for like, you know, WWE, like especially before they like turned into like super family friendly. But you know, like not to spoil, but like I know JBL's not on this list, and that like blows my mind because like that's like to me that was the feud that like made John Cena. So it really blows my mind that there's not something from that on there.
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because I was looking, and yeah, there was not a JBL match with John Cena on here, but that is a feud that they are very well known for. Number 4, we have, to me, what led to one of the craziest few years in the history of WWE. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013. Because this was the catalyst for Daniel Bryan taking on the Authority heading into WrestleMania 30. And people don't realize John Cena was wrestling with a torn triceps at the time. And the muscle was balled up all the way up to the elbow. Well, they didn't know. And honestly, John Cena's wrestled with injuries before, but still, like, it's, you of all people would know, it's not exactly a pleasant thing to wrestle through an injury.
I mean, to be fair, there's like a saying in wrestling where like it's pretty much just like every wrestler works hurt. Like no one is 100% going into their matches, and if they are, that's that's really that's rare. Everyone's got something, like an injury that's bothering them, something that they need to go to the doctor for and get checked out. I can probably list about 5 of my own right now that affect my sleep every night, and but these guys on that level, they're on the road, 300 days out of the year. And they're hurt and they're traveling nonstop. They're getting on planes. They're in the car, and they're hurt. And then they show up and then they deliver and then they travel. And then, they don't have time to really like get their bodies in check unless they take actual time off. And as a wrestler, if you take an extended period of time off, even if it's like 3 months, like creative plans can change. People will forget about you, and it's probably hard for them to dictate and decide when is the right time to, hey, okay, I actually need to get the help that I need and recover properly. So yeah. So I'm sure I'm sure Cena was probably working hurt all the time.
Yeah, I can only imagine. At number 3, this one, I think even the most casual WWE fan knows this match. Cena versus CM Punk at Money in the Bank 2011 in Chicago.
I mean, yeah, that is probably like, and especially in this generation, like there's other matches you could argue, but like that has to be like probably the most talked about match, especially in that time period. But like even now, like, I mean, there's just not a whole lot of matches that really like, bring out so much emotion and just like the story that's there and all the drama that was going on at that time. You don't know like what was a part of the show and what was real. You had CM Punk showing up at an AAW show in Chicago with the WWE Championship, an independent show, making an appearance. Like that's crazy,
I couldn't believe it.
Super cool, super cool.
It was definitely at a time where they really were blurring those lines. Like if what was happening in front of them was real with CM Punk leaving with the WWE title, like, would Vince McMahon let that happen?
The payoff of all that maybe was lackluster, but all the build and then the match itself, awesome, fantastic.
You know what though, episode, because with that comment,
no one wants to hear anyone talking about the after the match stuff.
What I was saying is like I think about the payoff on a lot of things in wrestling, and sometimes most of the time it really is the build to it,
absolutely,
and the culmination, which is it's the steam. And like I said, we can always go on about this, but we're at number 2 now, and we had talked about this possibly being on the list and maybe not, but it is John Cena versus AJ Styles at the 2017 Royal Rumble, where John Cena tied Ric Flair Now, I find this crazy because let's really think about this for a second. John Cena this year passed Ric Flair with the 17th World Championship victory. He last won a World Championship in 2017. You know, that is just really crazy to think about to me, like when you put that in perspective. And it was the third time in their rivalry where Cena and Styles squared off with the WWE Championship on the line. And to me, the third one, a lot of times when it comes to trilogies, the third the best. The third one to me turned out to be the best. It was fantastic. No pun intended. It was phenomenal. And I will say when Styles launched himself for the phenomenal forearm and John Cena hit the third AA, it's corny, but absolute cinema.
At the time, I mean, that was really special, and like Cena at that point was also kind of known for having these matches that were just, it felt like just always the same. So, him wrestling Styles, that later, like late in his career, putting on that kind of match, it felt fresh, innovative. It felt really cool. And that's what I think really what made it special. And that's a dream. Like those two being in the ring together was like a dream match for people. Like maybe it's not one that people would like write down on a list, but like as soon as it like gets announced, it's like, oh, you know what? I actually do really want to see this. I didn't even know this was a match I wanted to see. And then they put on one of the best matches, for this generation for sure that, we probably will see on WWE programming.
Oh, absolutely. And lastly, we have the number one match, according to Bleacher Report, of John Cena's career, that being John Cena versus CM Punk on the February 25th, 2013 episode of Monday Night Raw, where the winner of the match would determine who would face The Rock at WrestleMania 29. As we know, it was John Cena, and he beat The Rock, but
that was that JBL storyline, right, with Shawn Michaels. Was that the same one? Do you remember like where he like owned Shawn Michaels?
Oh yeah, that one. I remember that. Yeah.
And then it led to, is that when he wrestled Taker at Mania?
No.
Michaels.
That was a completely different. Yeah.
Who did Michaels wrestle at Mania that year?
Oh wait, that year actually. So there's 2000. I'm trying to think. Was it 08 or 09 when that feud happened? I know Jericho and Michaels feud in 08.
Yeah. Well, whatever happened, but yeah. Again, great match. Obviously, like it's number one on the list for a reason. But it kind of felt like weird because of the other storyline going on in the background. But that also just shows you that like, storylines are great, and sometimes they're not really like what you want them to be. But it's a testament to the wrestlers to go out there and create such a captivating story and put on these like just amazing matches, no matter what else is going on, outside of the ropes. It's because like if someone would have said, hey, Shawn Michaels is in the storyline, Cena's getting set up for this, they're going to wrestle on Raw, and it's going to be his number one match of all time, a lot of people probably would be like, well, it's probably going to be really good because of who's wrestling, but like, is this really going to be his best match of all time? And then obviously a lot of people think it is. So that's pretty cool.
I think, I'm going to say one honorable mention that I think should have been on this list. That I do remember, and once again, we talk, bloody, ruthless, intense matches. John Cena versus JBL in the I Quit match at Judgment Day 2005.
Yeah, I mean that would probably be
blood fest. And this Jared says Cena versus Batista, and I'm gonna guess he's talking about the I Quit match. Which was I believe Over the Limit, and that was a very good match too, because even when he got Batista to say I quit, He did the AA off the top of the car. Batista went through the stage and everything. I mean, it was unbelievable.
I don't know if
So
you know this. I don't know if you noticed this on Saturday in the cage match with Tyler Copeland, but I hit an attitude adjustment on Tyler
I did
Copeland
see
before.
that.
Yeah,
I did. Brandon, I know you got places to be and things to do. So, but before I
I have
let you
an
go,
unlimited amount of sushi that I'm gonna eat.
yeah, you're good. So before I let you go, I have to ask you because this Saturday, John Cena will face Gunther in his last match. Um, I would want your prediction on who will win this match, and at the end of it all, what are your thoughts on the career of John Cena and what he's meant to professional wrestling?
I mean, when I was a kid, I think like characters like Cena before he like became like Super Cena into like this like kid friendly character. I mean, he was like one of the reasons I would want to tune in, because you got to think around that time you had like Los Guerreros killing it, Eddie and Chavo were killing it. Obviously, like, you had like Jericho bouncing around, Mysterio was hot at the time, Angle was hot, Lesnar had just like came into the fray, Michaels was on a second run, like those episodes of SmackDown were filled with all that. And then Cena brought something totally different. You had these guys having these, you'd like turn on SmackDown and you'd watch like Rey Mysterio versus like Chavo Guerrero. And then you'd see like Angle versus, I don't know, like someone else that like, could be Jericho or whatever. You would just see like these matches though, where it was just so much talent, in the ring. And then here comes John Cena out with the mic. And it's just like, oh, now you're really excited. And again, like that's what's so cool about that time period is you had these phenomenal athletes putting on these crazy technical high-flying matches. And then you got John Cena coming out there with the mic and basically like rhyming like balls with Deck the Halls or something like that. You know what I mean? So goofy. But you'd just be like, oh, this is hilarious. And then main event, like take your Brock Lesnar. Like what? Like that's crazy. And that's just like that was the vibe. But Cena added so much to the show by being himself and doing that. So for me, like, I mean, that's like my fond memories of Cena. I kind of got out of him once he kind of turned babyface and started being like Super Cena, but that's okay. You got to establish yourself before you can make that turn. And I think Saturday with his match with Gunther, like I know like if I was in his position and it was my last match and you had a guy that was like still newish to like the WWE like universe that they have, you're not just going to go out there and do like shoulder tackle, finish, attitude adjustment, whatever. I would imagine we're probably going to see like something really awesome. And, I expect like physicality, fire, like not just like the callbacks, and if it is that, that's okay too. Like at the end of the day, like you want people to be safe. You like as like a kid that watched him when I was growing up, I would love to see John Cena come out once a year and just wave and know that he's able to walk, that he's able to talk okay. He doesn't have all this, he's not in a wheelchair and his body's not falling apart and he's healthy. I mean, that's how like we want to see these guys. And and previously, like there's a lot of guys that don't end up like that in the business, and for various reasons. But hopefully Cena's 90 years old and he's still able to walk out on the stage and just wave. And then we can all just be like, man, like that dude pretty much saved the pro wrestling business, Like realistically, there's no wrestling business in the way that it is now if it's not for John Cena, like 100%. A lot of people will say that about Hulk Hogan 80s and part of the 90s, and then kind of transition that into Stone Cold Steve Austin. But I think right now it's definitely John Cena, the guy that, we wouldn't have wrestling and be able to enjoy it and, have everything that we have now if it wasn't for him. So.
I definitely wholeheartedly agree. And yeah, if John Cena, I think it's going to be a good match. I don't think there's going to be any type of squash involved. I don't think it'll be a bore because John Cena is the type that wouldn't. I don't know. John Cena is a perfectionist, in my opinion, when it comes down to it. He always wants the best and he expects the best. So I think we're going to get the best possible match out of him. Now, speaking about getting the best possible match out of a wrestler, in a few months, Pro Wrestling Epic is going to return to the Mills in Granite City. Tell us about your match, and how you're going to work. I guess I don't want to say get in shape because you're already in shape, but basically prepping for that match.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw yesterday, they announced that I will be facing Brandon Beretta, the current main champion at Pro Wrestling Epic at the Mill in Granite City on March 7th. First time ever matchup. You know, when I was younger, there was a lot of people that used to tell me like, oh man, you're full of potential. You know, you're going to go somewhere in the business. And, you know, like there was a time where I believed that and I felt like I was getting momentum and traveling more and wrestling for really good places outside of St. Louis, you know, all over the country and stuff. And right now, I think Brandon Beretta is the guy, you know, that, you know, he's going to probably be popping up on your TV screens in the next 5 years. He is an animal, a beast in the ring. He is awesome. I remember seeing like little clips and pictures of him probably like 5 years ago or something like that, whenever he first started. And it was kind of just like, okay, like this guy, you know, like he's got a good build or whatever, but probably just another wrestler or whatever. And he's really worked hard and transitioned himself into being a guy that, you know, in this area especially, that like everyone talks about, you know, and now people are starting to recognize that outside of St. Louis, and you're seeing him wrestle for, you know, all different kinds of like NWA affiliates and other really good independent companies. You know, he's in shape. He's got a great look and tons of potential, but, you know, he's going to be in the ring with me. And if you know anything about me, it's that I always bring it. And I know that he's got a little bit of an attitude, you know, and how he operates, but
he's by the books, honestly.
And, you know, like you saw Saturday, I'm willing to do whatever I have to do within the confines of the rules.
Oh, yeah.
To win. And so I really hope that he brings it, because I'm going to bring it, and we're going to have a classic. And my goal on the 7th of March in Granite City at the Mill is to become the Pro Wrestling Epic champion once again.
Well, I personally cannot wait to see it, my friend. And I can't wait for you to join us again on Roundabout Sports in the future. But you go on, enjoy your sushi.
Oh,
I love you, bro. I will talk to you later.
I love you too, man. Be safe.
You too. Brandon Aarons, folks, here on Roundabout Sports. Take care, my friend. Oh, man. Absolutely fantastic having him on. And, folks, before we wrap it up this week, I'm sorry AB wasn't able to make it on this week. He is doing well, I promise you. I was able to speak to him earlier. He is doing well. Anyway, it is time for me to do my favorite segment here on Roundabout Sports. And it is completely irrelevant to John Cena, but it is still fun nonetheless, and it's my show. So, welcome to the segment I like to call Just How Bad Do the New York Jets Suck? So, the New York Jets recently lost again, this time 34-10 to the Miami Dolphins. With that, they are now 3-10 on the season, which is tied for the second worst record in the NFL. Also with that, the New York Jets were officially eliminated for the playoffs for the 15th straight year. Now, you might say, 15 years out of that, that's terrible, but it's not just terrible. It is the longest active playoff drought in the major four pro sports: NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL. No team in any of those leagues has a longer postseason drought currently active than the New York Jets. It is abysmal. The team is abysmal. Tyrod Taylor played for a little bit, then got injured. Brady Cook went in, the former Mizzou quarterback. I will say it is fun to see Brady Cook make his debut and actually play decently given the team around him. But nevertheless, it was bad. The New York Jets are just bad, and there's a million questions that they have to ask themselves as we head into the end of this season. So, once again, folks, we're going to wrap it up here on Roundabout Sports. Be sure to tune in on Peacock this Saturday night for Saturday night's main event, John Cena's final match against Gunther. They're expecting it to open the show, but I can't guarantee it because, hell, I don't work in WWE, so what do I know with that? But it is going to be a great show because on top of it, they're going to showcase some of the best talent NXT has to offer as well. John Cena's request was to showcase a lot of the great young up-and-coming talent in WWE. As far as us here, want to talk about our sponsor, Harsh Construction LLC. For a free quote, you just call 618-363-9818. That's 618-363-9818. With over 50 years combined experience in home repairs, renovations, landscaping, and construction. Harsh Construction LLC. As always, Roundabout Sports can be found on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Pocket Cast, Amazon Music, and any streaming platforms you have. Be sure to follow us on Facebook, X, and on the official Interstate 70 Sports Media YouTube channel. And as always, for the NAMI helpline, you dial 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-NAMI. The National Alliance on Mental Illness is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for those who struggle with mental health issues. And of course, at the end of every show, we put up the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. And for that, you dial 988. The line is open 24/7, 365, 366 on leap years. Understand you're never alone in this world. There is always somebody out there who loves you, who cares about you, who wants nothing but the best for you. There are a lot of us that go through struggles and trials and tribulations in the world that we live in on a daily basis. But that doesn't mean they have to be faced alone. Or just a phone call, a text message, an appointment, an email away from what could be that life-saving moment for you. And you could be the listening ears and watchful eyes for somebody else in need as well. Once again, I want to thank Brandon Aarons for joining me this week. Be sure to join us next week, folks, on December 17th, 2025 for Roundabout Sports. And until then, I'm the Maestro, Jeremy Karp. And remember, life is a book full of empty pages just waiting to be written in. Make your lives worth reading. Good night, everybody.